Hi everyone. On behalf of everyone at Studio Meraki, I, Sonam Lodhi, would like to welcome you to day one of our From Composer to Virtuoso recital. To all our guests joining in from across the globe, let me give you a brief update of what we've been up to in the last few weeks. The idea was simple: to help our students create their own compositions, assist them to notate it, then anonymously swap these compositions with somebody else at the studio and have the other student perform it for you today. To guide our students through this, we conducted a set of three weekend workshops. The first one was conducted by our in-house sound engineer and composer Priyavrat Panigrahi on the different aspects of composition and what it means to be a composer. Rohan Sigamani and I conducted the second workshop on harmony. And for our third workshop, we invited my friend and composer Vineet Panikar to talk to us about his composition process and how he composed the set of pieces called Glum, which he dedicated to our students at the studio. I definitely believe that this has been a very beneficial exercise for our students. Very rarely do I see them sitting for hours on end at the piano, noodling away, thinking about different scales, experimenting with different tunes, discovering new rhythms, and thinking about what they really want to express and finding the best way to express it. We do discuss these topics when they perform their pieces, but very rarely do we think of it from the aspect of being a composer. Before we go ahead, I would like to take a moment to thank my team, Ajay Deshpande, Priyavrat Panigrahi, Vishvesh Majali, Rohan Sigamani, and my mother, Mrs. Neeta Lodhi, who have tirelessly worked to put this together. Many of you watching may not believe that for some of my students, it's their first time composing, and for many of them, it's their first time publishing their performance for everyone to see. I do hope you find the time to leave behind some encouraging comments for our budding composers. Do enjoy the show.
My name is Avni Anand, and the piece that I played is called Meadows. It is a nice and gentle tune. Maybe the composer imagined a quiet place away from the city, like a meadow.
Meadows is a very peppy and cheerful piece. Whenever I play it, I feel like I enter a euphoric trance that I am in the laps of nature, lying in the lush green meadows, watching the clouds float by.
So the song that I had to learn is called Daffodils. And I must say this is a very melodious song. It sounds soothing to my ears and the theme is very much relaxing. It was quite easy for me to learn and play this song. In almost 1 week, I was playing it without even looking at the notations. I must say, in my opinion, this song is well constructed and I enjoyed playing it.
good evening. My name is Raibata Basu, and I have composed the piece Daffodils, which is inspired by the naturalistic poem of William Wordsworth. The introduction of the piece is when the flowers start blooming and the sky is blue and the sun is shining and nature seems all good. And the middle part is where all the good things start to happen and it starts turning better and better and better, which leads into a very happy conclusion where the naturalistic element of this poem is panned out, and this piece depicts the naturalistic view of the conclusion of the poem, in which everything starts to come together and flowers and the sky and the sun and everything seems to be very happy. Thank you.
I am playing the piece Sailing in the Sea. Just as there are calm waters in the rough waves, the beautiful sea and the beautiful sky, added with the mystery of what lies beneath the sea, this piece has it all: the joy, the thrill, the mystery, and the adventure of sailing in the sea.
The name of my composition is Sailing the Sea. I chose the name Sailing the Sea because when you are in the sea, there are different effects. Similarly, my composition has different moods. While making my composition, it was fun and a little difficult, as it was my first time writing my own composition. It was a great learning experience though.
So the piece I had to play was Ukiyo. It is a short piece. In this piece, there were a lot of new things which I had learned. For example, the time signature, which was 7/8, the pentatonic scale which comes in. Ukiyo means living in the moment, and this is a very apt title for this piece, especially when the pentatonic scale comes in. It really feels as if you're living in the moment. So hats off to the composer for such a creative imagination to this piece.
So the piece I composed is Ukiyo. I tried to give it a Japanese theme because I really wanted to visit Japan this summer, but of course, because of the COVID outbreak, I couldn't. It was a really different and great opportunity to compose a piece because I don't think I would have ever thought of composing my own piece if Sona ma'am had not given me this opportunity. So I learned a lot from it, to discover various tunes, and it took a while to get the whole tune, but it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
The piece I'll be playing is called Unfinished Sunset, and I like how the piece so aptly embodies the title. I also liked how, using such simplistic ideas, the composer was able to create something so sublime and something so filled with melody. The only hard thing about learning this piece was the time constraint and learning the different sections that were there in the piece. I hope you enjoy my performance. Thank you.
The piece that I composed is called An Unfinished Sunset. It is inspired by an unfinished sunset that I witnessed in Goa. It took me around 2 to 3 weeks to compose the whole piece, and it was an amazing experience.
The piece that I played is called Chronicle. It's a melody in D major. It was very well written and it had a flowing sort of rhythm to it. The title was very well thought of in the sense that it really sounded like a chronicle.
The name of the piece that I've composed is called The Chronicle, and I started it off by just trying out some random chords from different scales. And once I had the starting of my piece figured out, I got inspired by the concept of books and stories, and I decided to base my piece on that theme. And it was a really fun experience.
The piece which I have played is called Be Simple. I really like the name of the piece because not only is it a very clever pun, as this piece is played in B major, but also because it describes the piece perfectly. This piece is simple, short, and graceful. It is also relaxing and I always feel calm whenever I play the piece.
The piece I've composed is called Be Simple. It is in the B major scale, which I have never played in before, and I was really inspired by several pieces like Andrea Doe's Rondo Session, Flying Above the Clouds, and even Time of Love by October because of the cheerful and soothing vibe. So, through my composition, I really hope to create a similar vibe. I really enjoyed learning this piece. It had a catchy tune to it. It was really well written. And I felt that the title of this piece, which meant fairy dance, really suited the whole piece, as I could imagine how the fairies must have danced throughout the piece, and on the whole, it was fun learning this.
Hi. While composing my piece Ladadi Phil, I wanted it to be simple, fun, and light, and I was happy that I was able to do that. It's in the key of D major, and I love arpeggios, so I've included a lot of arpeggios in my pieces. I've also I watched a lot of Disney movies and concerts on Broadway while I was performing the piece, so I probably have included a little of those vibes in my piece. I so I wanted my piece to be fun and have a very princessy fairy dance vibe, and I'm happy with how it turned out. At the beginning, when I started composing my piece, I was clueless and I did not know what I wanted in the piece, but I did know that I wanted it to be light and have a lot of arpeggios and to have like a sort of a very fun vibe towards it. So I'm happy that it ended up pretty well, and I know that there's lots of scope for improvement, and I'm really looking forward to composing more pieces. Thank you.
I'm learning this piece called as Enigma. It is in the key of B flat minor, which makes it a bit difficult to learn this song. Uh, there are two different moods in this piece, and the second mood is completely unpredictable, which you cannot predict. And it comes from bar number. It starts from bar number 17, and that's where the audience get completely blown away. That is what I like about this piece.
Hi, so my piece's name was Enigma. It was based off a dream I actually had. So this dream was kind of like a nightmare, but not really. It was like kind of mysterious, hence the name Enigma. This piece was actually extremely difficult to write for me, mainly because of the first part, which was finding the right scale. Once I found the right scale, it was a lot easier for me to compose because I knew how my dream went, so it was easier to make the piece like that.
The name of this piece is Prelude Reunion. It's a really lovely piece with a very nice upbeat rhythm. It's got a lovely left hand pattern, and this piece reminds me of the joy we get when we meet a friend after a real long time.
The inspiration to compose this piece came to me when I was experimenting with guitar one day about 2 years ago. The actual notes that I was playing come right at the beginning of this piece, which gave me a feeling of reunion when played slowly. Then I built over that and composed this piece in a prelude form, having a simple ABA structure. The B section has been inspired by the Indian classical music. Overall, this activity of composing a new piece of music has been very fruitful for me.
The piece that I had to learn is called Might. It is played in D major. The melody of the piece was in the right hand and the left hand was accompanied by the chords. The melody was great and the part that I liked was the broken chords. I think the challenging part for me was to play the piece in just 2 weeks and that too on handwritten paper, which I never did before. And yeah, I had fun and it was a great experience learning. Thank you.
The name of my piece is called Might. The inspiration came from the thoughts that were running in my head as I sat down to make it, which was achieving the things in life that I wanted to, and that found its way onto the piano. And as I saw it build up, I could see where it was heading. I liked it. It went well with these thoughts. And once I had this tune, I wrote it down, and it took it took different changes on paper which really enhanced it. And I liked the fact that writing stuff down also helps you quite a bit. That was a new experience for me, and yeah.
So the piece that I was given to play was Anxiety Loop. I could relate to it quite a bit, and I liked how the first section was all, if I say it in terms of anxiety, all restless and nervous, and how it flows towards the end with full of hope.
So my piece is called Anxiety Loop. The thought process behind it was about how when something goes wrong or when something is about to go wrong, you'll sort of spiral into this endless loop of fear and hope. You'll start feeling heavier, but after a while, you'll think of something that could potentially help you. But after a while, you'll start realizing all the flaws and mistakes in that idea as well, and then you're back to square one. I don't think I was able to convey that properly. However, this was definitely a very interesting and a very informative process. I've definitely learned a lot of new things because of this activity.
Hello everyone. So the piece which I got to learn is known as Happy Campers. So basically it's in a major key and it has got a nice accompaniment in the left hand. It has broken chords and chromatic patterns. And the most fascinating thing I found about it was the style. It was in swing. So I really enjoyed playing it and it reminded me of me going to my treks in old days. So overall it's greatly written by, I don't know who's the composer, but thumbs up and keep up the great work. Thank you.
Happy Camper. When I first began composing this piece, well, I had no direction as to what I was looking for or what musical storyline I was looking at. But basically, just a tune ringing in my head, and that's how I thought of the entire piece. Um, the piece metaphorically describes the life of a happy camper, someone who, barring all the challenges in life, still moves on and still sort of is happy and satisfied and content with the situation he or she is in. So, well, that's a little bit about my piece, The Happy Camper.
The composition that I played was really very interesting. The whole journey in the piece sounds mysterious with lots of excitement, climax, and suspense. The mid part of the piece releases some tension, adding some charm into it. The piece ends up dramatically creating a thought of some story still to come. Overall, it was a very thoughtful composition.
Hi, I'm Erica Dalton, and the name of the piece I've composed is called Mystique. Originally, I wanted it to be a sad romantic piece, but I think, however, towards the end of it, it started sounding like a baroque classical piece. But nonetheless, I'm very happy about it. And I really hope the person playing the piece has a different interpretation of it, and I'm really excited. Honestly, as a classical musician, I feel we have a very one track mind when it comes to music. And I think this journey has been very exciting because we had to look into so many other aspects when it came to writing our own music. And I'm so happy that Sonam thought of this idea and we got to execute it. Thank you.
The piece I got to play today was called The Air of Hysteria. It is written in a minor key. It's a very powerful and strong piece, and my thoughts on this piece are it's so beautiful. I really, really enjoyed playing it, and to think that someone at our studio composed such a beautiful piece is so, so amazing. And every time I would have to record it and send it to Sona ma'am, I would get really happy and I would play it so many times in the house because it is such a piece that I can relate to, and I really enjoyed playing this piece. And hats off to the composer. It is so beautifully written, and I wish I can write something like this someday.
The piece which I have composed is called The Air of Asteria. My inspiration for this piece is mainly derived out of Celtic and Gaelic music, and these are my favorite music genres. And my way of composing was heavily reliant on my chance to discover a very good and passionate melody, and I think it turned out to be great.
The name of the piece I played is Daybreak. It's written in the minor key, and the music is very dark and apprehensive until the end, which I think is the most beautiful part of the piece as it conveys a sense of hope. The piece also has several evocative melodies which sing throughout the whole music, and I think the most challenging part was bringing out all these different melodies and shaping them in order to express the whole mood of the music.
that I composed is called Daybreak. The piece for me started off by a simple tune that I thought of and I came to my piano and it just came to me. After which I then got another tune that complemented the first. And for me, step by step, that's how the entire piece was composed. It was never a thought in mind, but one tune complementing the other and the other. And that's how Daybreak came into existence. The word came after the piece, rather the name of the piece. And the reason why I felt Daybreak suited it the best was because, you see, the sun just doesn't rise all at once. It's one color and another just complementing it, and another and another. And that's how we have the entire sky filled with the different colors of the sun. So that's Daybreak for me. I hope you enjoy it.
We have come to the close of day one. I hope you have enjoyed some fabulous compositions and some great performances. Please join us again tomorrow for day two, streaming on all of our social media platforms. Thank you very much.